Okay, so welcome to the Node.js Community Package Maintenance Team meeting for April 8th, 2019. We'll follow the agenda as posted in the issue. The first thing on the agenda is if anybody has any announcements that they'd like to make. I'll take silence as meaning that there's no announcements this week. Okay, so the first issue is 179 demo of Sigim Work Module Insights. I think that actually took place last week. Is somebody from last week confirm that, who was here last week, confirm that and identify if there are any next steps on this particular issue? Was anybody here last week?
Yeah, I can confirm we saw the demo. I don't
recall
if there were any next steps.
Okay. So I think it fits in terms of like if we can have tooling to help package maintainers in the work that they need to do. I think Beth mentioned to me that she was going to go look at some use cases in terms of, here's a use case where you would use something like that. I guess before we move on, I'm thinking we can remove this from the package maintenance agenda. But if anybody has any suggestions or thoughts since then in terms of like use cases or ways that we think the package maintainers could use it, it wouldn't be bad to spend a few minutes on that front. Okay, but I don't hear any thoughts, so we'll wait till I guess for Beth to come back and we'll go from there. Okay, so let's look at the next thing on the issue then. So the first draft of testing guidelines, which is 169. Just opening that one up. So I'm just looking to see, is there a particular reason where we added it to the agenda? So that was back on March. So I guess Emily probably wanted some feedback. But I don't really see any discussion. I still see some discussion going on in the issue itself, but I don't know. Is there anything that people want to discuss on that particular topic today? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say next meeting. So basically adding a comment to the issue saying, hey, we're going to remove it from the agenda for now. Discussion's progressing in the issue. If you want it to be discussed at the next meeting, just add the package maintenance label back on. So with that, maybe I'll move on to the next one, which is, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Michael.
Yeah.
I was reading the comment because there is a tag to you in the second comment I did at the end.
Okay, do you have maybe can you paste the link to the comment? That'll let me get there, right?
Yep.
So let me open that.
I think that this is the last question.
Right. Okay. So do we want to delete the content? So do we want to delete contents in the how section, but leave some useful tools section? Thanks. Some advice around tools like Sigim. I might wait to see if we want to pull it back from definitions and recommendations for now, but be glad to add, remove, or if we think we need some or both or not. Okay, so let's see.
So if they think that it is not necessary that the paragraph, it's okay. Remove it.
Right. Yeah, I'll take the action to go back and think a little bit more about that, and I think I need some more time to think about what to suggest there. Because I think we want, like, some useful tools are definitely good. And the how, yeah, I'll need to think a little bit more offline if I can. But thanks for pointing that out, because I probably would have missed that. Any other discussion on that one? Like, do people, like, do you have a particular view on that paragraph, or?
No, I think that this pull request after some another review could be merged in order to go further.
Right. Okay. Sure. And then we can, yeah, it's a draft, then we can PR new things into it and stuff like that. Okay. Okay, the next thing on the list then is create a support section validator. So this is 161.
There was 164 first.
Did I miss that one?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, I did. Yep. Let me go back to 164. Okay. So yeah, Joel, this is yours. You want to give us a quick update, or?
Yeah. So I've sorry, I missed the last meeting, so that's why. I've submitted a pull request and for a draft published guideline, and I've got a couple of feedbacks, and I've updated the pull request. I'm looking at it, and one person, Manuel, has approved it. Michael, do you have any update on the pull request?
Yeah, let me just take a look. So I'm looking for where is, so that's number 178, right?
Right.
Yep. Okay. Let's take a look. I think I made a few comments as well. So like I just had suggestions for expanding what not written in idiomatic JavaScript meant. Expanding on that.
Yes, I did update it based on that comment also.
Okay, so yeah, I just haven't had a chance to get back. Then I can do.
Okay, I can go over that with you offline.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion or comment on that one? No. Okay. So let's look at 161. So this is. Create a support section validator. So Edgar wrote that. I haven't had a chance, but that's on my list to go give it a try. Guess Manuel, you had a suggestion for an additional command as well.
I opened a pull request 1 hour ago in order to add a tools list to the draft directory. This could be like a menu of tools where we can add all what we will build in order, of course, to be more compliant to our guidelines.
Right. Okay.
So in addition to like the tools that we have built, we can also put a roadmap of tools that we're thinking of building.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep. Yeah, because I was wondering about the process with this one. Part of the closing of the issue, we don't really have a documented process, as far as I'm aware, of what we do once we've come up with a tool. It's been built, it's been validated to serve the need. Where does it go after
Right.
that?
So yeah, definitely here this makes sense. I think in the specific case too, the next step we got to think about is like, okay, we've got a draft that says, here's what we suggest you put in. Here's what we got a validator for it, but what are our next steps? So I think we maybe, if we have time at the end, I wanted to loop back and spend some of the time thinking about, like, maybe we can put together a checklist of answering those kinds of questions. Like, maybe, one that comes to mind, we should go talk to NPM, and, we should do some evangelization. We should talk to some module owners to see if it makes sense to them, and so forth.
So kind of like beyond contributor guidelines, more like how do you take it from having contributed to making it useful to the community? Right.
Like, since we have it, but then, like, yeah, how do we actually make it so that people know it exists, see if people will actually start adopting it, and basically help get it adopted. Since we've said we think this is useful, how do we move from where nobody uses it to the point where hopefully lots of people use it, right? But yeah, let's come back and, I think we want to go through the project board, but if we have time, then let's come back and we can do some brainstorming on that front. Make sense?
There is a rise end about this. I don't know how promote.
Yeah, can you promote LJ Harb, Michael?
Yes, sorry, okay, yep. All right, promoted two people. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. So I'm the one who originally asked for the validator tool for the support thing. Essentially, what I want is if we're going to try and introduce a new de facto standard package JSON field, then it's something that needs to be ideally proliferated in the ecosystem prior to trying to put any enforcement on it. So what I would really like to see is just kind of evangelism efforts to popularize usage of this, pull requests to popular modules to start using it, and add the tool to their CI workflow. Because without the tool, it'll be easy to drift, and with the tool, it's like easy to get it correct. And once there's like some amount of popular packages using it, then it becomes much more attainable to like run a tool that says, what is the, aggregate support of all the things in my dep graph, for example. And the thing I'm thinking of in particular is the license field and the SPDX specifiers. There's a tool called licensee that a employee of NPM at the time wrote and popularized as a way, and he's a lawyer, and as a way to make sure that it's easy to validate your own field, but also you can then check your node modules folder and see what are all the licenses of my dependencies. And I think a similar, and that has worked really well, and it helps that NPM eventually baked in the SPDX compliance into the CLI. So I think that if we can get this sort of in usage, if people see the value of it, even without NPM and Node support of it, then it becomes a much easier task to get it integrated into the NPM and or Node as we see fit, and to start using it as a more reliable metric. So that was my hope for such a tool.
Yeah. Well, that's along my thinking as well. I was saying it. We should, if we have time at the end, I think we want to go through the project board because we added that to the agenda. Once we get through that, we should then brainstorm, let's put together a checklist of the next steps of what we want to do on that front.
So it sounds like the checklist, as the conversation has gone so far, would be put in an issue for a tool that we think we could use, generate the tool, validate the tool as a team, start getting PRs to merge this into the big names and address whatever feedback they have. And then if it begins to get traction, then bring it into the Node.js ecosystem or NPM ecosystem, wherever it ends up making sense. So it sounds like we've got a pretty established process just from that conversation. So if that sounds right to everybody, what I can do is I can just create a new README MD with those steps in a row, and we can continue the conversation on the pull request for that until we nail down exactly what we want to do.
Okay, yeah, I still think we should do some, I think it would be good for us to write down the list for, like, if that's a generic that says, here's what we do for a tool, I still think we want to look at the specific case for this one. Like, okay, how do we start promoting not just the tool, but like the concept of these extra fields in the package JSON? Make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I'll go ahead and open up the PR anyway, and if we need to shift the direction of what the README looks like or what the where we go with it, yeah, that way we document what we've discussed for now, and if we change directions, we can always close the PR.
Yeah, or if you want to open an issue and put the bullet points in, and we can edit it when we come back to the brainstorming section.
That makes sense. I'll start with an issue then.
Because that's what I just had in mind, was like we'd open an issue and put one of those little checkboxes that say, here are all the things we want to do as next steps to promoting that whole concept, right?
Sounds good.
Okay, so yeah, I just before we dive into that, because I could see us spending a good amount of time on that, I want to make sure we get through our agenda items. So appreciate add deprecate guidelines documents. So this is 150. Just opening that one up.
Yeah, that's one of my pull requests. Also, it's been going through a few revisions. I think most of the comments has been addressed. There's only one that's not directly. That's the bigger question itself, is how to allow users to kind of come back to us and say, I want to take over this unmaintained package.
Okay, so I guess in terms of next steps, is it you need to think about it, write that up, or more discussion in the issue, sort of thinking what's the next step on that front?
I think that discussion would be on a different level, a different scope.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically that should be outside of this document.
Right.
Okay. So you think this is now ready to go, or do you have some comments to address?
I don't have any comment that requires changes. Again, so let's see. Let me go back.
I see a few suggested changes and stuff, so at least those need to be accepted, or I think anyway, unless I'm seeing. I've addressed and made changes to all the comments. Not sure if they accepted. There's only one that I'm aware of that is Mattel make a comment like how can. So there is one item that says consider become a maintainer for the package, and Mattel make a comment like how can somebody do so? Right.
And we need to add an explanation link. And I think there's a separate issue discussion that's already open on something that's related. And also on NPM itself. So I think the bigger question on this one is, if someone says, "Hey, it looks like this package needs some help. I would like to become a maintainers for it." So that situation itself was the original problem that we try to solve. Is that how can we safely determine that someone is we can trust someone to take over a package, right?
Right. Okay.
So I think that that's a broader scope, and there's a separate discussion that's already going on, and we will need a document on that. Once we have that document, we can put a link to that document inside this one. And also, I believe that NPM also have some very active discussion going on how to maintain a trust level of an owner,
okay.
Yeah. So
it looks like. Sorry, go ahead.
So yeah, it looks like as far as the vetting out maintainers, establish trust level, that is a much broader scope discussion, and then multiple discussion going on. A thread that's in this group, and then there's a thread that's on NPM itself.
Okay. It seems like there's a few comments like these that still need to be accepted, right?
Believe that. Not sure if that.
Because that one looks to me like it still could be accepted. So maybe if you can make one pass through and then sort of like at mention us all to say, hey, looks ready to land, please review and give me your okay, and we can try and
sounds good.
First version through.
Yeah, last I checked, I thought I went through all the feedbacks and I didn't receive any new notification. But I'll do one last check and then put a comment and ask everyone to review and see if
sounds good.
Get it landed.
Okay. Okay, so 113. Okay, so I'm gonna say I'm just gonna see if Matteo. I'm just gonna see because I don't think I see any updates since the meeting a couple weeks ago. Okay, so that I think is what was on the agenda itself. Yeah.
He replied to the survey for MQTT.
Okay. But I think that there was more.
So the answer has been merged.
Okay, but I think we needed to get it for a number of modules, right? Like we wanted to get talk to a couple of maintainers.
Yes,
so I think we had a list. Do we have a list here?
I have to. There is in the issue of the K packages.
Right. So I think like this one was we want to get we probably want we want it from a number of the initial package maintainer. We'd like it for more than just MQTTS, right? We'd like JS. We'd like it for a number of them, and then we can look at the list, see what's in common, and that kind of stuff. Does that make sense? Oh, here we go. Key pilot packages, right? So here is the list. So I think we'd want to see if we could get it, although I guess I was reading something about Express. So we'd want to see if we can follow up with Express as well to get some feedback. And I think we want to start the discussion with them just in terms of getting a little bit better connection. And one of the things we could be asking about as well is the package support levels. So does that match what people see as the next step?
Yeah.
We can ask for Express, for a reply from Express.
Yeah, so I'm gonna post in here progress.
Oh, okay. I'm just waiting for craft services also.
Okay, so I'll just post a comment there just to see if we can see if there's any thoughts or progress that they've made on that front. Maybe it'll be a reminder to say, hey, let's take another look at it.
Great.
Okay. And here, and I guess we haven't heard back from NetDB, NetDB.
No. Yeah,
Okay.
Lewis is hard to get a hold of. So
Okay. Okay. Well, I think we can continue to push on that. We'll see if we get any sort of feedback from Express, and we may want to think about, are there any other candidates that we should sort of reach out to? So when you said,
if anyone missed it, Request just announced in huge fashion they were going into maintenance mode. So.
Right. Yeah, I sort of. That's what I thought I'd seen. So maybe we want
probably worth removing that one from
I
the list.
saw that he dropped.
And actually, that binary is
sorry, go ahead. You saw that he dropped.
not compiled. So
He dropped any new future request, only bug fixing.
Right.
He wrote on Twitter.
Right. Yeah, so I'd have to think if that means that we should find a different candidate, maybe because it's an indicator of how much time he may have to sort of help. So yeah, we may want to kind of rethink if there's any other good candidates to go out and talk to. So maybe our next action on this is we'll see if Express comes back to us, and if we can all think about if there's any other suggestions that we'd have next time to see, like, are there any other ones we can be reaching out to? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have one quick general question if we're onto that. So I've raised a few things, licensing and versioning, and they're on the docs, in the docs folder. I'm not quite sure what the next step is in our process, though. We've created these small markdown files. Do we try and fold them into the README, or so they're under?
Right. Sorry, the ones that are in, here. Where is it? Package. Sorry. So in here, right? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we have them into drafts, right? I guess the next step is to say what additional feedback do we think we need to get before promoting them basically into the regular docs directory as, hey, here's the content. We think this is good. This is our recommendation. So that's kind of really is like, okay, what do we think? Do we think there's more input to be gotten, or is it, hey, this is good and we should just move it up? And then
there was one from LJ Hall, only one feedback, and that was about the sort of illegal uses of object in the package.json that he raised. Mm-hmm. And I don't think NPM is going to take much notice of that because I had them run the queries for me.
Right.
Probably don't think we should either. But it probably, if people have been creating a sub-object, it probably pretty much reflects people that don't create a sub-object.
Well, but prior to I was mentioning the licensee thing earlier and the SPDX compliant field. Prior to that being a thing, all of NPM used the object form. So there's probably a massive number of valid licenses displayed in that object form. So it would be helpful probably to get those numbers, and it would probably shift the list a bit. I don't know how that. It may not be possible to get that data, or it may not be worth it. But I suspect the data will change that list a bit.
Well, I know how many there were, but I don't want to use up too many of my goodwill stars with them on this one, because I think we kind of have a good relationship now, as long as I don't ask too much of them.
Completely understood.
And it was only a freak chance I managed to get in the same room as them on one day and say, you haven't replied.
One, the license is literally C license. I reverse to license.txt.
Yeah, there was actually one thing I removed from there, but there was a sort of a made-up license that people used, but that's not one for a video call.
Right. Okay.
And it was quite popular. But that is what is used on the registry and in that order.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, this is short but very to the point, and okay, so I mean, I guess on this one it may be as simple as just we, you know, it's ready to move up to the regular doc directory, and then it's like, do we need to do evangelization on this, or is this the one like licenses are still fairly, you know, at this point, most people choose a license, or is it that us doing something to help push on that makes a difference or not?
Well, I think the general thing was I didn't think we should tell them what to do, because I think there are, at least in some states, that is actually illegal. It is in New York, as from the lawyer type people I've talked to, because that's offering legal advice. And so this is the best thing we can do. Just tell them what other people are doing and the popularity of them. And that makes them, let them make their own decisions. Just provide unadvice, just the data. And this is what's on the registry.
Yeah, no, I think this, I mean, I think this is good. Like it provides short links to the information that you would need to choose one.
The only thing is, what is our process for moving the folder? That's another thing we haven't discussed.
Right, so I was just saying, you know, it's under drafts. So the next step in my mind is to say, okay, a PR that moves it from drafts to just docs.
Okay, I'll do that.
Which basically says, yeah, we agree that this is something that we as a team can promote. And yeah, I was just looking at it saying, I don't see that there's too much else to say, or as long as nobody has any concerns, it's probably ready to do that.
And the versioning one was even more controversial, a lot of comments, but it's still, again, another short, sweet one.
Right. So this one, it says required that any package supported have an appropriate license. Is that actually true that it's not required?
Well, you don't have to put something in the field, and that's one of the things.
Right.
You must put something in the field. You must make a decision, because that could put the maintainers in a situation.
Right.
So if it's not been adopted, it should be adopted. But I don't think there's any package we're going to be adopting, I can see in the near future, that won't have a license. This is really for the future.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, why don't you do that PR? I might have a comment on that first line, but that's, I think, the next step. Okay. Versioning.
Yeah, this is very short, but trust me, there was a lot of words and a lot of feedback on getting lines out.
Okay.
Perhaps I should do the same thing for that, raise another PR, and then you can go for a second round of comment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just that, I mean, the only thing that I wonder is this one's it kind of starts out with like, we require you to do this. And I wonder, is it that these won't necessarily all be that like you have to do this, or there's, you know, you don't, in order to get help. It's more of the, here's what we recommend you do, or guidance for what you might want to do to make your life easier. So versioning, but versioning may be that like, hey, if we're gonna be able to usefully participate, then versioning needs to be something along these lines. Or
I think I did start off on a more kinder, gentler thread, but the opinion of it was not so.
okay. Okay, well, yeah. So the next step is like you said, to open a PR to move it to the regular docs, and then.
Well, I feel like in general, it's for things that are debates and highly subjective. I think that it's reasonable to be what's the word I'm looking for? Measured in our recommendation language, but for things like following Semver and having a license, I find it hard to believe that either of those two things are controversial.
Right.
And so I feel like it's best not to even create doubt in the mind of people that following these things is a good idea.
Right. Okay.
And thus use more strongly worded language. But like, you know, that also might be my preference of how to communicate, and maybe everyone doesn't agree with that. But like, that's my general thoughts.
Yeah. No. Okay. I know. I understand. I can take that. And you're right that these two in particular, it shouldn't really be, you know, if you're not following Semver, that's not very consistent. And yeah.
Right. Well, and I think it's also fine if we draw a hard line and say, as the package maintenance group, we have resources you can read, but we're not going to expend effort on you unless you comply with Semver and have a license of some kind.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. No,
like
that's fair enough. Yeah.
It's reasonable. We're volunteering the time, or we're helping other people volunteer in time, and these are the rules of the game.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
No, okay. In the context of that, I think those two fit. Those two in there. I mean, it's not like Okay. So basically, it'd be next step would be to PR those two up to the regular docs directory. Okay. I was just going to go to the board as the last thing on the regular agenda. If people agree that that's the next step. Just as okay, come on.
Hey, Michael, I have another meeting. I need to drop off soon.
Okay, we'll see you next time.
All right, thank you.
Bye. So I'm just quick look at our board. I don't think so. These things. So review and progress create CIs. Okay, testing guidelines. We talked about a number of those. I'm just looking if there's anything that jumps out in terms of us needing to jump in and discuss these. Is there anything that people want to sort of bring up that we should get into on these? Okay. If not, I was thinking we could, I don't know if, Edgar, you created that issue, but maybe you could share it and we can kind of brainstorm the next steps on the supported levels, the support levels.
Yep, I opened up the issue and I messaged it in the chat.
Okay, so let me go back. I'm going to stop sharing so I can see chat. Oh. Find chat here. Okay, so I'm going to share that just so everybody can see it, unless you wanted to share it, but.
That's fine.
Okay, is this the right one? No, okay. Well, it should be the latest issue anyway, right?
Yep, that's the top one there.
Okay.
Documentation? Yeah. I didn't know what kind of tag to put at the beginning.
Right.
And I'm not sure if we can all edit any issue comments or whatever, but if you need any updates to the statement there,
Yep.
Let me know.
Right. So I guess what I'm going to suggest is I'm going to create a new issue just for working. And then I think, so this is like next steps on support levels, right? And I think some of this will fit back into that other issue, is the more generic version of this one. But like what I had in mind is we need to come up with like, what are the checklist of things that we should do in terms of, you know, like get input from to module R2 of the, what do we call them? The proof of concept or the friendly module owners. I think one of the things that LJ was like, this is maybe later on, but it's like a tool to scan dependencies and report on support information. So example, so do we have like a blog outlining the support levels and how to use tool, the date, I'm just thinking like, you know, if you can think of things we should be doing to start evangelizing that. And I guess we need to promote final review, promote to drafts. Like just thinking of, okay, we've got them. What do we do? What all should we be doing to sort of support and evangelize it? You know, I heard, you know, submit PRs to add in the levels for some people. What else should we be doing?
We must follow our guidelines.
Sorry, what was that?
We must follow our guidelines.
In the follow our own guidelines in the module?
Yeah, so we can test them and check that we don't have missing nothing. For example, integrating CI/CD, CI, sorry, versioning, something like that. It's like a test for stage environment.
Right. So that actually makes sense. It's like the tool. So Edgar, is the tool today available through NPM?
No. Manuel had put the tool together. We have it in PR format now that was awaiting feedback if anybody had anything to say about it. And if we can just get on the actual issue ticket, some feedback from people saying it meets the expectations that they had, we can then agree to publish it to NPM.
Okay.
Yeah, but right now, as far as
so basically,
but it's already on NPM.
It's already available on NPM?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, I can remove, change wherever it needs.
I think if we haven't publicized it yet or anything, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's not. I just, if it's there and people could already grab it already, great. But if not, so basically we need to finalize the review of the tool. You are you already following? We're following the guidelines in the publishing of the tool. Because that would be a
sure. There is the support tag. Yeah.
Right. Because that would be the one place where, you know, if it has a license, it has a supported tag, it has the other things. You know, it's the one, like you were suggesting, we sort of use it to validate it. That would be one way to do it. I don't know if there's any way to add it to the CI or whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, we should be able to run the tool in CI like it's a test. So it would like fail, a PR would fail if it caused like if there was an invalid schema in the support field.
Right. Okay, and we should be able to do our own example in the repo for the tool itself, right?
Yeah, and that's another thought I had too, is if we built a service, so like I have a crappy little website up. It's versionbadges.es is the and it just, you give it like a npm package name and it gives you a little SVG with the version number of it. We could do something like that, like shields.io or whatever for support levels, so that, you know, like, because we can assume that they're all validated since someone's using the tool, and, you know, where you can just put a little thing in your README that links to a page that describes the support levels.
Okay, so like you're saying, is it that you're saying we could create a site that does the validation for you, or something that gives you a little badge that says?
Well, yeah, I'm thinking so a few different pieces. Like now that we have the CI tool, then we can have a URL on a website that generates like an SVG for a README it generates it by reading the package JSON of your last published version.
Okay, right. That shows.
And then we could also, and then we could also make that badge clickable in the, you know, in the copy pastable code. We tell people to dump in their README.
Yeah.
And we could make when you click on the badge, it goes to a landing page that explains the support levels and specifically explains the ones for the package you clicked on. You know, there's like a lot of, if we make this a nice, pleasant experience, then people like throwing badges on their README. And when those badges are also meaningful and helpful, then we haven't made everything worse. So that sounds good.
Yeah, no, okay. So that's a good one. So yeah, that's the kind of thing I want us to, like, let's brainstorm the whole list, and then we can kind of order and pick pieces off, right? Because I assume running that little generator is probably, that's not going to take much cycles either, right?
No, I mean, yeah, my version badges thing is like 6 lines of node code.
Yeah, okay. Any other things like that we can help to do to make it attractive, promoting?
Maybe we could also add the same tool to the package phobia site that is on GitHub. We can simply do a pull request. Maybe it's a little faster.
So I didn't quite follow that. Add it to what?
Package phobia.
Package phobia. Okay.
I put
For what it's
the
worth,
link.
I hope we don't advertise a tool that scares people from adding dependencies, but that's a separate conversation.
Okay, because you're saying that's what
Yeah, I mean, package phobia is like a combination of a useful tool and also like fear mongering. And I hope that we don't make part of our group the fear mongering part about, you know, dependencies are a good thing, and like the size of them is not, you know, that's a separate debate we don't have to get into now.
Yeah,
but
it may or may not matter to you. Sure, yeah. Okay, so yeah, I don't necessarily see that one is not helping us promote it necessarily, right?
I mean, we can still list it in the issue. I just mean, like, I hope we don't end up prominently recommending it or tools of that kind.
So promoting package phobia or adding our thing to it, or like, because it doesn't need us necessarily to do
yeah, it's fine if package phobia adds it. I just mean, like, I hope we don't encourage people to use tools that make them scared of dependencies.
Sure. Yes.
Whatever that amounts to, but that doesn't mean you can't like type it into this issue right now, or that we can't explore it, or that we can't, you know,
I just don't
to add support for things.
I'm just not quite I haven't understood what we would do with respect to package phobia. Like, do we need to, like, it seems to me if we publish it, it'll automatically show up there. Sorry, go ahead.
I think that we can reach a wide set of people in this way, in fast way, in order to give them this kind of sensibility.
Okay, right. So create our own website that shows the results. Is that what you're thinking? Or like, I think I'm missing something. I just don't quite understand the suggestion. That's all. In terms of what I would write down in our thing here to say what we're going to do.
Yeah, it's because package phobia, I think it's quite wide use by other devs, so they can find the new icon that say, hey, there is the new support tag for your package JSON, adopt it, like this.
Okay. I guess I don't know what package, like I looked up packagephobia.now.sh, which shows me the cost of adding a new dev dependency. Is that what you're thinking of, or is it something else?
No, it's that.
It looks like they give out badges. Is that what we're talking about doing? Is showing on our tool that package phobia says it's an okay tool to use? Is that the goal?
Yeah, it's to add also that kind of information to that not only the package size, for example, but also the support that those package give.
Right. Okay. So, but
this seems like a good idea. When I go look at the thing, when I type in a package name, it gives me a publish size and an install size, and it lists some badges and stuff. And it would be, something they could certainly add a section that says like, this package is supported in these ways, and so that makes it good or bad or whatever. That seems like a good idea.
Okay. So basically, talk to package phobia to see if they would add information from the new fields. I think that makes sense to me. If it looked to me, I was a little confused because it looks like it's all around space. But if they actually have other things as well, then that would make sense. Or maybe they'd be interested in.
For example, if you wanna, let me show what I mean.
Okay, here, yeah, I'll let you share.
If you open the URL I put in the panel list, it's simple.
Yep, I just opened that. So here, I'll share that one. Share.
Beside the install size, there is little icons.
Right.
I think that we could add a square with our icon that put in the new site we will build.
Okay, right. Okay.
This is an external site, so I think that we could only to add the new link to our site. This is what I mean.
Okay, so basically, right. Okay, I think I've got that then in the in there now. Okay, it makes sense to me. Right, so I see there's one where it shows one we just hit that shows the licenses. So yes, okay. Yep, got it. Okay, so I think we're at the end of the time for today. But there's a pretty good list. Here's the can I get it to land in there? All right, I'm gonna stop share. Start sharing again. can find the right list. Right. So this is sort of the starting point of the next steps. I think if we can think about it and post any other suggestions that you have in there, and then we can start working through that list. It sounds like our concrete thing, and I'll certainly try and do that this week, is to like finalize reviewing of the tool so we can say, okay, yeah, we got a good starting point. And then we can kind of order the rest of the list and sort of start working through it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just it sounds good.
Okay, so I think that's our time for this week. I think that's sort of good, and hopefully between now and then we can at least finish the finalizing of the review, and then sort of next time talk about how we check off some of the other boxes as well.
Wow.
Okay, talk to everybody next week. I mean, 2 weeks, I guess. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.